Until it wasn't, the room was completely quiet. Rasheeda's hand struck Yandy's face with such force that it reverberated off the studio walls, causing a high-pitched shriek to pierce the atmosphere. Everybody froze. Every frame was captured by the cameras. Security couldn't move because they were so shocked. The lights flickered. The glass tipped. This wasn't in the script, a crew worker said out in the background. But baby, this wasn't acting. This was actual. Rasheeda was already there, furious. But Yandy had entered the room moments earlier with her trademark composure, chin up, and heels clicking like a queen entering court. Her voice was shaking from what she had just learnt, and her eyes were bloodshot from anger. There had been treachery. Years of friendship, dedication, and silence were shattered by one so profound. She also didn't come to talk. She came to seek justice. With a fiery voice, Rasheeda spat. "You think I didn't know?" Yandy's eyes sprang wide, but it was too late. The weight of all they had buried fell with the smack. Then there was a scream. Someone behind the cameras, not Yandy. Something had come to light. Something that should never have been heard. There was no turning back now. Prior to the smack, Rasheeda and Yandy were sisters in spirit even before the cameras and lights turned on. Everyone believed that. At least, there was hidden conflict, competitiveness, and unspoken truths that neither of them dared to express behind every perfectly crafted love and hip-hop. Reunion smile and shared Instagram picture. Their relationship had begun years earlier, when both women were still struggling to advance in a male-dominated field, discovering sisterhood and solidarity and creating what appeared to be an unbreakable partnership. However, beneath it, envy and treachery were already sprouting. Their wounds became more entwined as their friendship grew stronger. Brick by brick, the original Georgia Peach, Rasheeda, established her empire. She had experienced everything. Fake friends, commercial failures, public humiliation, and Kirk's adultery, but she wore her battle through it all. Similar to Arma, she took great pride in her survival, longevity, and loyalty. In contrast, Yandy advanced through the ranks to become the polished manager, the polished wife, and the polished mother. However, Rasheeda always thought that polish was a cover-up. She saw Yandy as a master of image curating, able to represent disorder as devotion and smile through chaos. And nothing annoyed Rasheeda more than witnessing someone pretend to be flawless in private, disintegrating. As men entered the picture, their friendship started to deteriorate. Rasheeda first made an effort to keep it adorable. She would play nicely, nod, and grin. However, she secretly doubted every aspect of Mendices, including his intentions, loyalty, and the influence he had on Yandy's career. It wasn't only about M, either. Yandy was clinging to a fairy tale, despite its flaws. The way she would cry to the girls one day and defend him wholeheartedly the next. Rasheeda was familiar with this playbook. It resembled her own history quite a little, but bitterness swelled up inside her instead of empathy, because it almost shattered her that she had survived Kirk's betrayal. It was a slap in the face to see Yandy voluntarily choose that pandemonium. Then came Erica. The piece of the puzzle that neither lady wanted to acknowledge was still important. Erica was more than just Mondesi's former partner. She was the original template, the one who had loved him before the TV lights, the fame, and the filters. Rasheeda was aware of it. During events, she had conversed with Erica, exchanged wary glances, and traded slight hue, and Rasheeda would notice the flash in Erica's eyes that indicated unresolved business each time EM's name was mentioned. She kept that information to herself until it was used as ammo. Yandy held it down while M was confined. That was undeniable. She reared the children, maintained the household, and wore the prison visits as badges of honor. However, nobody was aware that Rasheeda doubted every aspect of it. One night after filming, she had asked, "Is it loyalty or just pride keeping you here?" Tipsy off wine and frustration. Yandy had dismissed it at the time, but the words stuck with her like poison. Men weren't the only ones betrayed. It was about values, about how one lady could show allegiance while the other endured shame. Rasheeda believed that she had paid the price for being a wife, while Yandy pretended to be one, and the fissures grew wider over time. Rasheeda was no longer invited to some gatherings by Yandy. In her confessionals, Rasheeda began to make sly remarks. Then there was the suspicion that Yandy had never been formally married to Mendices, a rumor that no one dared to voice aloud. That followed all of the public displays of Dom, the wife, and there was never any legal documentation. An industry assistant was the first to tell Rasheeda about it. "I believe that was all for show. Chilly," the girl had murmured, until Rasheeda realized it answered everything. She refused to accept it. When M's devotion was called into doubt, Yandy would become extremely defensive due to the distance and avoidance. It was fear as much as pride. Fear of the illusion crumbling. Therefore, the studio was already filled with secrets when they entered in on the day of the smack. Rasheeda was aware of the texts that M had found and attempted to use as leverage between Yandy and Carlos King. She was aware of the quiet disputes that took place off camera. She was aware of the therapy that didn't work, the late-night calls to Erica, the conversations in the baby mother group that revealed facts that could not be contained in an NDA. Above all, she was aware that Yandy was barely hanging on. But no one anticipated that Rasheeda would spark the match. However, she was no longer able to bite her tongue after years of witnessing her buddy fall apart behind a facade of strength. She yelled, "You're lying to yourself, not just to him." And Rasheeda didn't shout when Yandy ventured to reply in denial. She gave her a slap, because words were insufficient at that precise moment, and there's no turning back now. The sound of the slap was too loud for the cameras to record. Every mask broke and the room became silent as Rasheeda's palm struck Yandy's cheek. Nobody moved for a suspended second. Nobody took a breath. Everyone froze, including the cast, producers, and crew. Yandy stumbled back, her eyes meeting Rasheeda's, her cheeks flushing red. This was no longer a reality TV drama. This was authentic, unpolished, and unrehearsed. "What have you just done?" Yandy gave a faint hiss, but shaking with incredulity. Rasheeda's hand continued to twitch. She had no regrets about it. Not at all. She spat, "What I should have done years ago. You've been acting like a victim while lying to us all. You're not." Through the sting in her eyes, Yandy blinked. The smack was not the source of the pain. It was what came next. "Are you lying to me?" As she studied her voice, she scoffed. "It's you who has been anticipating this. From the beginning, you have been envious. Acknowledge it." With a fiery voice, Rasheeda moved in closer. Jealousy was never the issue here. This was about exploiting each and every one of us as a prop to prevent the collapse of your small empire. Suddenly, the place was in disarray. Go back 3 months in time. Whispers and backstage murmurs throughout manufacturing were the beginning. Photographs captured by paparazzi of Yandy and Carlos exiting private dinners. Detectives from social media were assembling inconsistent timeframes. Although Yandy said she was working late on her next project, videos showed her grinning as she slipped out of a restaurant in downtown Atlanta at midnight, her hand lightly touching Carlos's back. He was no longer merely a producer. He was now her confidant. Later, some would allege that she managed to flee. In the background, Mendices had become suspicious. He began to doubt everything. Her social media captions, her travel itinerary, and her filming blocks. After a particularly violent disagreement one evening, he went through her phone. Furthermore, he discovered more than just treachery. It was a humiliating experience. Yandy and Carlos exchanged messages for more than a year, flirtatious, mysterious, and sentimental. But he wasn't broken by the words. It was the picture. In a hotel room mirror, Yandy was by herself, grinning, and wearing a robe that she claimed she never packed. Mendices was a man in disarray from that point on. He started giving clues and he would say that marriage is about trust, and occasionally, the people who are closest to you are the ones who betray you. His admirers believed he was being poetic. He wasn't, he was attempting to express it subtly. Let's return to the present. You said you were by yourself that evening. From off camera, Emus' voice roared. He had arrived in the room in time to hear the conclusion of their altercation. Everyone turned as soon as he spoke. Shaken, Yandy whirled around. We're not going to do this here, you said. He chuckled sourly and without humor. Oh, right now, timing is important to you. It matters now. The space was whirling. Breathing heavily, Rasheeda remained motionless. The space was whirling. Breathing heavily, Rasheeda remained motionless. The match had been thrown by her. She was now observing the fire. You were aware of her infidelity. Rasheeda addressed M. You were aware, and you accused me of destroying this family. M looked over at her. Conflict twisted his face. I didn't want to accept it. However, you did. Rasheeda lost her temper. You ran to Erica because of it, right? The atmosphere changed. Everyone winced. Yandy's gaze grew wide. What were you saying? Rasheeda moved to the front. Every word has venom. Inform her. Inform her that you and Erica have returned. That she is your present, not just your past. Yandy's knees almost gave way. She muttered, that's not true. M, however, did not dispute it. He averted his gaze instead. Quiet. The treachery was not as bad as the truth. It was proof that her worst worries had materialized. The unexpected absences, the late-night texts, and the abrupt reunion with his other children. Yandy had written them all off. Deceive herself into thinking she was still his queen. The crown was slipping now, though, and the person who had been hiding in the shadows to steal it was her oldest foe, Erica. The turn of events that altered everything. And then it happened without warning. The phone rang. A pale-faced producer listened in response. It's TMZ, he murmured, hardly raising his voice above a whisper. They are currently dropping something. Everyone faced the closest screen. The breaking news was pulled up by a producer. Shattering Mendices is the father, and Erica is expecting. According to hospital records that were leaked, Yandy made a sound that was something between a sob and a scream. She fell into the closest chair. Rasheeda's hand shot to her lips. M's face was completely devoid of color. The headline was blazing. M had not only returned to Erica, but he had also conceived her. Chaos erupted in the room. Members of the crew muttered. Operators of cameras lowered their equipment. Keep filming. This is gold, the director whispered into his headset, but nobody was considering the show anymore. This was no longer a plot point. On live television, this was life-shattering. I had no idea. M stumbled. I swear, I had no idea she was. Yandy gazed at him, her eyes vacant. Keep it. For months, you have been deceiving me. Don't give up now. However, she had stopped crying. Her screams were not as scary as her silence. Have you been feeling chilly because of this? With a glassy voice, she inquired, is this why you've been punishing me every time I tried to get close? I was trying to protect you, he said. Protect me, she said with a sour laugh. The one lady who has done everything in her power to ruin me was impregnated by you. That's war, not protection, she said, turning to face Rasheeda. You knew, she muttered. Rasheeda paused. I heard rumors. Yandy yelled, you knew, and you gave me a slap. You put on this entire show, even though you knew. Rasheeda answered, I didn't want to hurt you. Yandy spat. You wanted to punish me for not being the damaged woman you required me to be. The center of it all was right there. The years of rivalry under the pretext of care. Concern was concealed by jealousy. The friendship had always been about survival rather than love. The entire group stood in stunned silence as Yandy rushed out of the room. Mike still heated. It went beyond simple treachery. Nobody anticipated this implosion. Whispers, movement, and desperate damage control erupted in the room as soon as Yandy stormed out. The harm was already done, despite the production assistant's best efforts to destroy the cameras. With regret and anger heaving in her chest, Rasheeda stood motionless. Mendices collapsed into a chair and buried his head in his hands. This wasn't supposed to go like this, he whispered. However, nobody was paying attention anymore. Backstage, Yandy wasn't just sobbing, she was changing. One assistant tried to give her tissues, but she tossed them away. Call Mona, she ordered icily. What had begun as a dispute had turned into a full-fledged war, and the internet was already devouring it. Even Mona Scott Young, the queenpin of the love and hip-hop empire, was not prepared for this degree of unvarnished collapse. Despite her reputation for turning suffering into ratings, Yandy had had enough of acting. She wasn't here to be a messiah or a sacrifice for anyone. She was going to completely change the story. In the meantime, mayhem erupted like wildfire. Blog sites picked up the smack within hours. Video was leaked. Remixes, lip syncs, and other content were all over TikTok. Videos of side-by-side reactions. In 4 nations, the hashtag #RUSHY2LAPS. I was popular, but something sinister stirred in the midst of the digital rush. Several gossip blogs received an encrypted email titled The Real Reason Rasheeda Snapped from an unknown source. A scanned notebook page, scribbled and ripped at the margins, was sent as a PDF. It wasn't from Yandy, but it was addressed to M. Kirk's ex-girlfriend, Kendra Bailey's initials. The internet remained silent. According to the letter, Kendra had previously dated Mendes's years prior to Yandy, Erica, and the bombshell. It was more than a brief affair. According to Kendra, Rasheeda persuaded her to abandon the pregnancy so that EM's future wouldn't be wrecked. I did it for you, for your career, for the image. The letter continued. Rasheeda said we had to safeguard your assent, but I dimed a little inside. Neither of you will ever have my forgiveness. All I can hope is that the truth gets out, and it had now. Yandy had nothing to do with Rasheeda's smack. It was about repressed anger, guilt, and the revelation of a deep-seated secret that rotted inside of her. Everything changed when the blogs were published. Backlash flooded Rasheeda's direct messages. How could you? The actual one was supposed to be you, preventing a woman's suffering while defending a guy. The bloggers who support feminism were incensed. Instagram's streets became chilly. Bambi even stopped following her. Despite Rasheeda's best efforts, the damage was irreparable. Although forensic handwriting experts online compared the journal to old footage of Kendra's diaries from Love and Hip Hop ATL, she issued a statement claiming the journal was fraudulent. The loop was closed. Yandy, meanwhile, had had enough of staying silent on her Instagram Live. Everyone was targeted by her. With tears in her eyes and a fiery voice, she added, I stood by this man through court cases, prison sentences, and public humiliation. While he followed his ego, I kept her at home, and he gave me a slap when I dared to leave the shadows, both literally and figuratively. Let me tell you something though, I'm not the bad guy. The survivor is me. Records were broken by the live performance. Fifth, 6 million views in a single day. And after that, the second significant twist appeared. Erica Mena revealed her own shocking revelation. She shared a thread with screenshots from her private conversations with Meneses because she was sick of being called the other lady. The timestamps were crucial. They revealed that he was actively emailing Erica about escape plans and starting again while Yandy and M were shooting couples therapy. But the worst, a voice note from M to Erica where he said, she's the brand, not the woman. I respect her grind, but she was never the one. The internet exploded. M's supporters were crushed. Yandy, a rock star, mother, an empire builder, had been reduced to a publicity tool by the guy they supported. She was never the one, despite the memo trending with the ##. Yandy didn't even give a public response. She was not required to. Mona was preparing a brutal scheme backstage. You're not filming this season anymore, she said firmly to M. Mendices objected, saying, you're stepping away or we are everything. But Mona wasn't amused. There is enough content on the network to ruin you 3 times over. Baby, This isn't your story of redemption. You will have to deal with this." He was devastated when he left the conference, and the crew, speculating that the slap wasn't even the worst thing that had happened that evening, they muttered to each other. According to one assistant, Mendices attempted to confront Yandy off-screen once again when the camera stopped, but security forcefully led him out of the studio. The assistant muttered, "They thought he was going to hit her." The most terrifying portion, however, came next. There was another letter, addressed to Erica, just parchment, and a wax seal, no name. There were ultrasound pictures within, not Erica's. One more woman, dated just a few weeks following EMS release from prison. A scrolled message, "You were never alone." She wasn't either. You all underestimate the depth of M's secrets. Like lightning, the twist struck. Was M concealing a different woman? One more kid. Erica fell silent. Yandy closed her account. Rasheeda removed her Instagram account. Fans were left with a still frame of Yandy standing in front of studio lights, her eyes vacant, her chin lifted high, and her makeup smudged. A queen was overthrown but not destroyed. Not quite yet. The repercussions were immediate. What had begun as a private altercation between Rasheeda and Yandy became a major national controversy in less than a day. The drama spread over the internet, no longer limited to a reality TV broadcast. Bloggers, influencers, and even talk show hosts shared their thoughts on what had turned into the most explosive episode in love and hip-hop history. The public opinion court. The slap from Rasheeda it was symbolic rather than merely physical. The scene was examined frame by frame by both critics and fans. Merely physical. The scene was examined frame by frame by both critics and fans. Was it warranted? Was it anger? Was it the culmination of years of betrayal? Podcast panels, comment channels, and TikTok lives all devoted whole portions to the smack, with the description, "When keeping it real goes realer." That clip alone garnered 2.4 million views in 12 hours. A user's side-by-side edit comparing Rasheeda's hit to iconic VH1 moments went viral. However, beneath the viral noise, something more important was taking place. Public opinion started to diverge, citing years of witnessing Yandy played the victim while scheming behind closed doors. Some people came together in support of Rasheeda. Others felt a great deal of sympathy for Yandy, particularly in light of Mondesi's voice message that was released and described her as merely a brand but never the one. That one comment set off a chain reaction. The disintegration of emotions. Fans and family expressed anxiety when Yandy remained dark for 48 hours, following the Instagram Live. It was on her YouTube channel when she eventually made a comeback. Raw, solemn, and barefaced. No intro music, truth, no filters. She remarked, "I've spent so much of my life trying to be everything for everyone. The faithful friend, the forgiving woman, the ride-or-die spouse. However, I no longer know who I am." Supportive, heartbroken, and furious comments flooded in. Those who had previously chastised Yandy were expressing regret. "The whole story was unknown to us. You were deserving of better. You were dragged after holding him down." Silent collapse at the turning point. Producers were frantically working inside Love and Hip Hop's production headquarters. The screenshots of Erica, the off-camera tantrum, and the slap film offered both a legal problem and an editorial goldmine. Claiming narrative manipulation and personal targeting, Rasheeda's team reportedly ordered a cease and desist on specific scenes. Mona Scott Young remained unnaturally quiet, fueling speculation that even she was unsure how to tame the beast she had unleashed. The network discussed canceling the episode behind closed doors. Sponsors made withdrawal threats. Legal counsel warned of responsibility. But the crowd, they urged more. The streets respond. Fans in Atlanta staged what they called a T-Vigil, a flash mob-style assembly outside the studio gates where they held placards that said, "Family over Dame and she deserved more," and screamed, "Justice for Yandy." Erica Mena trended again, this time as fans filled her comments, wondering if she had actually known M was juggling numerous women and hiding a potential child. The whispers turned into roars. An unknown blogger posted claimed screenshots from another lady who asserted that she had an affair with him while he was incarcerated. "He informed me that their marriage was a showpiece and that Yandy was only the front." The deepest fissures were visible within the families themselves. Despite family conflicts and shattered support, in a now-deleted Facebook Live, Judy Mondesi's mother finally voiced her opinions. "I brought up a son who would not lie, cheat, or degrade women. Perhaps, however, his prominence caused him to lose sight of his origins." Her direct remarks shocked people on all platforms. Not even she was standing up for him anymore. Yandy's sister broke down in tears while going live on TikTok. "We made an effort to inform her. We pleaded with her to go, but she prioritized her family over her pride." Mendices, on the other hand, was losing his mind. He was contacting old PR representatives in an attempt to plan an apology tour, according to an insider. However, each time he wrote a statement, more secrets were revealed. His quiet was obviously not a tactic. It collapsed. Rasheeda's regret, even Rasheeda, who started the conflict, started to lose it. A mysterious message was added to her narrative. The truth doesn't always free you. It simply destroys everything. According to people close to her, she is struggling with guilt. particularly in light of the Kendra journal leak and the abortion cover-up. Rasheeda didn't slap Yandy out of hatred. One crew member admitted, grieving, she gave her a slap. She had been grieving for years. It was a complete circle of emotional history. Erica fell silent as well. Not a post, not a word, not a rejection, because of the ultrasound letter that suggested M had a third mistress or, worse, another child. Fans conjectured that she was keeping quiet. A cry was drowned out by the hush. Everyone was observing, no one was recovering, and no one came out wounded. Not even the viewers. Not Yandy, not Rasheeda, not M, not Erica. It was neatly summed up in one widely shared tweet. It was the drama that drew me in. For the drama, I stayed. As fans started taking sides, family members were recuperating from the emotional devastation, and everyone believed the dust had settled. A fresh bombshell dropped, completely appending everything once more. It all began with a video clip that was leaked. It's a shaky mobile phone recording of Mendices and Kendra standing outside a swanky restaurant in Atlanta, with no fancy editing, music, or times. Yes, one of Rasheeda's closest allies and Scrappy's angry wife. The tension between the two was evident even though they weren't holding hands or engaging in any overtly amorous behavior. Quiet, passionate, and all too familiar. They were fighting. That's not how you look at someone unless they have a past or something else. Blogs had the video in a matter of minutes. What are Mendices and Kendra concealing? The Aries caught fire. Did she actually cause him and Yandy to clash? Had Rasheeda's slap been a desperate attempt to hide this more serious transgression rather than a reaction to past grievances? Another blow came from the most unlikely of places, as rumors ran wild. An abandoned audio reel was anonymously supplied to a gossip podcast by a former Love and Hip Hop camera assistant. An actual, unscripted moment from earlier that week. Unknowingly, Yandy and Rasheeda's mid-argument was captured on camera, and everything was destroyed by what Yandy said. I am aware of Kendra. She has been in his direct messages. I know, you want to slap me like I'm the issue, even though I've read the messages. The internet was filled with gasps. Yandy was aware. Rasheeda was aware. Nevertheless, the slap continued to occur. Was it guilt? Was it a diversion? The internet was in disarray. Screenshots purportedly displaying deleted texts from months ago between Kendra and Mendices have surfaced. Unmistakably real, flirtatious, and mysterious. The only one who truly gets me is you. One message was read. Scrappy went live after saying, "Can't wait to see you again in private." He was pacing in his driveway, clearly furious. "Would you like to play with my name now? My wife with him," he said, his voice trembling. You can be sure it's not over if the man approached. Kendra, while I was attempting to keep my family together. In an hour, the one live stream attracted close to 1 million views. However, Erica delivered the last blow rather than Scrappy, Yandy, or even Mondays. She shared a picture of a positive pregnancy test in an unexpected Instagram story. Just a black background with no caption. She then released a shocking video 10 minutes later. Straight, composed, and focused on the camera. Let me remind you that I've always been the person he returned to. And now he's not just returning, he's staying while everyone else is playing house. Fighting on camera and sobbing online. The comments section blew up. Hold on, Erica is carrying Mendices' child. Before the smack, did Rasheeda know this? It wasn't over yet, but Yandy had held him down for years in order to be exchanged for this. A well-known blogger from Atlanta revealed a hidden voicemail, claiming to have received the audio as a gift from someone in Rasheeda's social circle. The voice of Mendices, helpless, exposed, and collapsing. I no longer know who I am. I feel like I've been living someone else's life. Even though I never intended to harm Yandy, I feel real again because of Kendra. However, Erica is the only one who has stayed. That was all. The last turn of events. This wasn't merely a controversy involving cheating. This was an identity breakdown. A guy divided between 3 women, each of whom stood for a distinct aspect of the life he had attempted to construct, destroy, and reconstruct. Erica, Yandy, Rasheeda, and now Kendra. The audience was in disbelief. Nobody was sure who to trust anymore. Every female was harmed. Every truth was steeped with betrayal. Every instant blurred the borders between devotion, affection, and survival. And just when it couldn't get any more hectic, VH1 aired the preview for the reunion episode. Wait, you're saying one of you was pregnant with M's baby at the same time he was living with another? The presenter exclaims in the last frame before fading to black. So, now that you've seen it all, the betrayal, the secrets, the tears, and the slap heard round reality TV, you tell us, was Rasheeda justified? Did Yandy go too far? Or did Mendices play every role? Let's not act like this was just another instance of hip-hop and love. This was the culmination of years of hidden drama, loyalty, envy, and emotional outbursts captured on tape. We're not only discussing spilled tea, we are discussing